So I'm joined by author Vikram Sampath today, who has his book is about to come out, and the book is on the hot topic, which is also dominating the news: the Kashi Vishwanath Temple, the Gyanvapi Mosque, and this is the book which we are reviewing today, Waiting For Shiva, Unearthing the Truth of Kashi's Gyanvapi by Mr. Vikram Sampath. Vikram sir, I would like to begin this by asking you, today itself, the High Court has upheld the lower court's judgment that prayers can go on at the Vyas Tehkhana, the southern cellar of the mosque, as we call it. Is this a small victory, we can say, towards the larger issue of the entire dispute of Kashi Vishwanath Temple, or do you think that this is something that should have happened maybe a long time back?
Till 1993, so worship was going on unabated, not only at the Tehkhana but also in the western ruins, which are of temples. As the ESI survey has also shown, and as even the naked eye can see, it was only in 1993 that barricades were put up by the Mulayam Singh Yadav government, changing the religious character, quite in contravention of the Places of Worship Act also. So what we see today, and in the restoration of the Tehkhana and the puja, is a reversal to this time itself. And yeah, it is going to be, I think, a major milestone and an important step to the reclamation of the entire area.
Because the book also mentions India earlier, like the matter of Ayodhya is there, court-mediated dispute. It took very long.
Yes.
Do you think the same route should be taken in Varanasi, and will it take that long? Longer taken Ayodhya?
Ideally, it should not. Ideally, the best solution would be that both the communities sit together, and I think in the case of Ayodhya, you mentioned, the constant claim would be that where is the evidence? There is not much evidence. Here there are tons and tons of evidence. The ASI survey report of almost 800 plus pages has laid bare the evidence. Then there is historical evidence, there is literary evidence, there are legal accounts. All of this is there. So in the wake of all of this, I think in the larger interests of national unity and brotherhood, that's never a one-way street. I think both communities need to sit together, and if it can be settled without the court's intervention and mediation, that would be the best solution. But even now we see opposition despite the evidence being produced, and that I don't think augurs well, for the country.
The book also puts a spotlight that the Somnath restoration project, which happened under Mr. Sardar's Stadium, that is in a way incomplete without restoring the glory of the Kashi Vishwanath Temple to its fullest.
Right.
Why do you say that?
So that's interesting. You asked that because in the book I also mention about Mahatma Gandhi himself in 1916 when he went to Kashi Vishwanath. In his speech at the BHU, he mentions where this is the very soul of India, and it is in such utter squalor. There's so much filth. Will anybody want to ever come back here?
I remember Prime Minister Modi also
mentioned
this when he inaugurated the
corridor. That's right. So you can say it was Gandhiji's vision itself to ensure that Hindu temples are restored to their glory. And as you rightly mentioned, Sardar Patel and K.M. Munshi, they were the harbingers of the Somnath movement. Gandhi was also in agreement to this proposal, just that he wanted it through public funds and not government expenditure on the Somnath renovation. But we've seen, it's a historical fact, it's documented that Nehru was completely opposed to this and quite prevailed upon his ministers, including Munshi and the President of India then, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, not to participate in the entire function of Pran Pratishtha of Somnath. And he's written in his letters, which I've also quoted in my book, about how it is he's scared of this Hindu revivalism and how it will affect the image of his government both within India and outside India. So that was the constant, the approach of the Nehruvian government, and inspired by, unfortunately, also the historians of the time, who built up a narrative around this entire thing that these temples don't matter, that there is not historical evidence. Today, the climate has changed, where I think it's an incomplete dream of Gandhi, of Sardar Patel, and all these great leaders to ensure that, as K.M. Munshi said, and I quote him, what use of his freedom if I cannot talk about the Bhagavad Gita freely in this country. So I think claiming your Hindu identity will not be a threat to anybody as it is seen to be in the Nehruvian era. I think there's a change, there's a rupture from that, where with the reclamation of holy sites like these, Kashi, Mathura, I think it completes the project of many of these other great leaders of the time.
So do you think that Modi 3.0 government coming again with the kind of full majority it has or maybe more would lead to a speedy resolution of the entire Gyanvapi issue?
Right now it's stuck in the courts, so that's irrespective of which government is in power. But there's a mahal, there's a climate, not only in political circles, but even in civil discourse. Civil society at large feels that it's not a big deal to give up certain sites which are of paramount importance to India. I mean, Muslim countries itself, very routinely mosques are displaced for mundane things like laying a railway line or widening of a road. The difference, the theological difference between a mosque and a temple are very different. Here it's a Pran Pratishtha, the deity is consecrated, and it's the house of the deity. Whereas a mosque is just a gathering where people come together for prayers. That can be done anywhere else. Whereas the importance of a site, the sthal, is very important in Hindu theology. So even if you look at it in matters of faith, that should work in the advantage of the Hindus. And secondly, these structures were all symbols of invaders. I don't know why any group in India should have any affinity for symbols of cruel invaders and barbarians, whether it is a Vapi Masjid or it is the Gyanvapi mosque. I mean, the very name Gyanvapi mosque is a cruel irony. How can you have a Sanskrit name for a mosque? So I think irrespective of who comes to power, who goes out of power, the climate is very much there, and I think the courts, honorable courts are seized with the matter, and I do hope even outside court it gets settled in the larger interest of communal government.
This is something I was in fact for the last 4-5 days in Varanasi, and I went to the entire Kashi Vishwanath complex. So I spoke to some Muslims also of Varanasi. There's a mixed opinion. Like I spoke to a elderly Muslim gentleman who told me that आप मस्जिद हमेशा पाक जगह पे होती है. तो अगर हमारी पाक नहीं है, आपको लगता है कि मंदिर तोड़ के तो हमारी मस्जिद चल जाती है तो चली जाए, but शांति बनी रहनी चाहिए. But there are some other Muslims who are wary that this might become a model for more such things to come in India. There is this fear that Gyanvapi could be just the start, and there could be reclamation of various other sites. How do you see that?
So, in fact, if you go as per Islamic law itself, first of all, this particular Gyanvapi temple, it is not a waqf property. That is something that was adjudicated not now, but in the British courts in 1936-37 when we had the Deen Mohammed versus State. Though that's a non-representative suit, I must add there that the Hindus were not made a party, so the findings are not binding on the Hindu community. But still, the court ruled then, the British court, that this was not a waqf property. Aurangzeb certainly destroyed the temple, but there were no farmans to show that in its place there should be a mosque constructed. So the structure itself is illegal that way. Even property, there are no property records to show that it is dedicated waqf property. Secondly, as per Islamic law, to pray at a place which is encroached, which is taken over from somebody without their permission, that is haram. So the prayers are not kabul by the Almighty. If you actually take over someone's place by force without that person's consent and permission. In this case, neither Aurangzeb nor all the generations after that have ever taken any permission from the Hindus. So even forget the legal status, property papers. Even according to Islamic law, it is not a valid place to worship. Now, about whether this will open the floodgates. See, the thing is, it's a very complex topic because we don't know how many places were demolished. There are varied numbers from 2000. I think Sitaram Goyalji has documented about 1826 such structures. Some people say it's 20,000, 40,000. So there's a wide range of the numbers. It is logically quite difficult to ensure that we will want to reclaim all of that. But wherever the evidence is staggering, or wherever the place is of paramount importance to a large group of people, I think the door should be open for peaceful reclamation just on this way. So the Places of Worship Act also comes in the process.